The story begins with Roxy approaching the gates. Before she opens them, Fate stops her from doing so. He gets a fright when he realizes it's Lady Roxy. Fate asked if she was going to the castle dressed that way. Roxy walks over to him and whispers in his ear. She tells him she is going on a secret inspection. This explains why she is dressed in disguise. Roxy makes sure he keeps it a secret and puts her finger on his lips. Fate picks his broom up and heads to go back to work but is dragged back by Roxy. She assigns him on a top secret mission to be her escort on her inspection. The pair of them make their way through the city. He calls her by her name, but she quickly rushes over to him and requests him to call her Lexi. This way nobody will notice her. Greed begins talking to Fate. He tells Greed to shut up, however Roxy thinks he is talking to her. She becomes sad and asks for his forgiveness for being so annoying. Fate panics whilst trying to explain she is not annoying at all. Greed continues to talk, causing Fate to grab Greed from his waist. Roxy, however, stops him and tells him to treat his sword with more care. She hints to have a good look at his sword, but he doesn't want to show her as he cannot let her to learn about his gluttony skill. He accidentally drops the sword and Roxy catches it. She inspects the sword and suggests it could do with some maintenance. They proceed with their journey. Greed comments on Roxy's nice smell. Fate becomes even more angry and tries to smash Greed on the floor, however is stopped by Roxy. She tells him to hurry as they approach the market. When they arrive, the fruits at the market look delicious and fresh. They both try a grape and are amazed at the taste. Roxy almost blows her cover when she claims the grapes were grown at her home, which makes the vendor question her. Fate nevertheless covered her up, explaining her relative worked for the Hart family. They both sigh with relief as the vendor walks away. The holy knights enter the market. Fate's stomach starts to grumble, and the knight heard it. He walks over to Fate angrily. Fate gets to his knees and apologizes. The knight intimidates Fate and highlights he cannot hear his apology loud enough. He attempts to stamp on Fate's head but is prevented by Roxy. He wonders who the brave girl is talking to a holy knight this way. He takes a closer look at her and recognizes her face. The people of the village begin pointing out it as Lady Roxy. Greed, however, tells Fate to pretend that they are a couple, therefore no one will believe it is Roxy. They begin their role play, which certainly made the people believe she is not Lady Roxy. They hide behind a wall. Roxy points out she has never linked arms with a man before. Fate panics and removes his arm away. Roxy starts to walk and tells Fate they should keep it moving. Fate kneels down and realizes it may be a difficult task escorting Lady Roxy. Roxy looks at gems in the market. Next to the gems are stones known as an ore. The only way to find out if a gem is inside the ore is by cracking it open. Fate uses his gluttony skills to see through the ore. The one he picks up is empty inside. However, a blue gem has caught the eye of Roxy. Fate is intrigued to see this side of Roxy, highlighting she is just like a normal girl rather than a holy knight. The shopkeeper offers a discount if Fate buys the gem for his girl. Fate reacts when he uses the term his girl. Roxy puts back down the gem and thanks the shopkeeper for letting her see it. The shopkeeper is surprised she does not want to buy it, but she points out she has not use for it and starts to walk away. Fate catches up to her and asks if she is sure she does not want it, but she confirms she doesn't, however asks him if he has any warrior acquaintances because she has some questions for active warriors. As they are talking, they overhear two men pass by discussing about the dead goblins that Fate killed. Roxy chases after the men and asks for more information, but they tell her she is better off asking a warrior. She asks Fate where warriors gather. Fate begins worrying, questioning if this is what her inspection is about. She confirms that is the reason and she must investigate the supposed monster who is committing these acts around the capital. Fate takes Roxy to a bar he used to dine at. The barkeeper has flowers at a seat as a memorial for a regular customer who he said died. However, he is stunned as he realizes it is Fate and he is still alive. He then insists for him to sit down. He introduces Roxy as Lexi to the barkeeper. He assumes Roxy is his girlfriend and Fate reacts when he says it. Roxy breaks the cup in her hand. Greed points out she may feel self-conscious. Fate turns bright red and ends up smashing his cup also. They discuss with the bartender about the killings of the goblins. Roxy is confused because a warrior would have cashed in on the goblins' ears, however all the goblins' ears were intact. This raises suspicion that it was in fact a monster. Fate looks with guilt as he is the reason for this. Old Ad enters the bar and informs them the rumor is that it is a lich roaming about. He tells them the holy knights will deal with it. Fate begins to worry and does not want Roxy to join the hunt to take down the lich as she will find out it is in fact him. Traveling warriors enter the bar. One of them start to harass Roxy. Fate stands up to defend her, but she uses her powers to send the warrior into the wall. The warriors recognize she is Lady Roxy and her cover is blown. The warriors begin to prostrate and beg for forgiveness. One tries to give her money, but she refuses. She highlights holy knights are here to protect the people and wants to live in a world of enjoyment apart from the kingdom's subjects. They begin having fun together, even challenging Lady Roxy to an arm wrestle. Greed undergoes some maintenance and looks like a brand new sword. Fate thanks Roxy for it as they walk through the city. He wonders why she didn't know about the hunt, but she points out the Velaric family are chasing up the attack and decided not to inform her. They then bump into the Velaric family. Raphael has hold of a young boy as he screams to be released. Nemel claims the boy is under their protection. Roxy instructs Fate to go and release the boy from Raphael's hand. Roxy angrily asks him why he didn't inform her of the wandering monster. His response was that he thought she would be too busy due to her father's departure. The boy pulls tongues at the Velarics as they walk away. He explains he cannot find his mother, however Fate reassures him they will help find her. Fate goes back in time when he was once lost as a child and wonders what happened to the holy knight that took care of him. As time passes, they still could not find his mother. The boy begins to cry, however Roxy comforts him and tells him he can stay at her home. Suddenly, a woman calls the boy's name. The boy runs over fully of happiness as it was his mother calling. The boy waves and walks off with his mum. Fate has a moment taking in Roxy's beauty but quickly snaps out of it when she asks if he is okay. He urges them to head back, otherwise they will get in trouble. She asks if they get in trouble, will they do it together? He assures her that they will. She gets a big smile on her face and they head back to the castle. Back at Fate's room, he asks Greed for a way to hunt monsters without Roxy knowing. He suggests wearing a mask. Fate believes it is a great idea and heads to the market to buy one. Whilst at the market, he picked up an ore and surprises Roxy with it at the castle. He thanks her for giving him his new job. Now he has warm meals and friends he now calls family. She cracks open the ore and finds the blue gem she was in love with at the market. She asks what he would like in return, but he insists she does not need to give him anything. Many hunters arrive at a place to kill goblins, but they find them already dead. They think that it must have been done by a lich, and suddenly Fate arrives there, scaring the hunters. The hunters run away, and Greed is excited to learn Fate's new name. Fate reveals that he wants to gain more strength before the Holy Knights find him. Afterward, Fate is shown working, and Roxy tells him that she has a secret mission for him. As they are on the way toward their mission, Roxy shows Fate her family's land, and Fate thinks that his mission is harvesting grapes on these lands. When they reach the fields, Roxy sees her mother, who seems to be sick. She rushes towards her, but her mother informs Roxy that she is fine. Roxy then introduces Fate as her servant and her mother reveals her name, Aisha. Aisha inquires if Fate likes Roxy, which shocks him and Roxy both. Aisha clarifies that she just wants to know what Fate thinks about her daughter as an employee. Fate bows down and tells Aisha that she adores Roxy and is willing to serve her for his entire life. This makes Roxy and Aisha blush, and Roxy runs away in embarrassment. Fate thinks he said something wrong, but Aisha tells him that Roxy just runs away when she finds a situation inconvenient. She has been like this since her childhood, and after her father's death, she became the head of the house. Aisha hopes that her daughter is doing a good job being a holy knight, and Fate confirms this. Meanwhile, Roxy goes to her room and looks at a picture of her father. She remembers the time when her father was teaching her swordsmanship. She told her father that she wanted to be a holy knight like him who brought a smile to other people's faces. In the present, she says that she hasn't been able to fulfill her dream yet. Later, Fate is shown harvesting the grapes, and one of the workers offers him some freshly squeezed grape juice. As Fate drinks it, he feels good, and he asks the man if Roxy comes to her home every year to help in harvesting. The man tells him that Lady Roxy comes here not just to help in harvesting but also to hunt monsters. This is because during this time of the year, many other crops are harvested, and the monsters attack them. Further, the kobolds from the north also come down towards the fields, which are a great threat. Fate then starts feeling hungry because he hasn't killed goblins. In the evening, as Fate prepares to leave, Roxy tells him that she will come later. He decides to leave alone and meets a girl on his way. He discovers that her eyes are as red as his own and asks the girl if she wants anything, but she tells him that she came here for kobolds. However, she won't fight with them and instead, Fate can do the job. She then leaves, telling him that he owes her. He asks Greed if it knows something about the girl, and Greed denies it. Roxy comes there and gives Fate a bucket full of grapes. She tells him that the girl must be from the kingdom of Galia, which used to be a super military power, but then some monsters destroyed it completely. Fate says that there must be some survivors like that girl still alive, and Roxy tells him that she has never found anyone resembling so much to Galia's blood. They continue their way back, and Fate tells Roxy that he has heard she will fight with the hunters alone. However, she clarifies to him that there are some warriors who will help her. Later, it is revealed that the monsters attacked the grape field and destroyed all the crops. Hearing this, Roxy and Fate join forces to defeat the monsters, who are kobolds. They see a huge kobold in front of them, and the townspeople are scared because they didn't see such a huge kobold before. Greed tells Fate that the monster is too difficult to handle, and all the people decide to go back and plan something before fighting. Lady Roxy tells them that being a holy knight, she will protect them, and then asks the people to evacuate the town. Greed tells Fate that Roxy can't fight with the monster, but she doesn't realize the danger. Hence, Fate decides to confront the monster himself. At night, he along with Greed goes to the same place where he earlier saw the kobolds. Greed informs Fate that the monsters protecting the huge kobold are named as Assaults and Juniors. The Assaults and Juniors try to protect their master but fail in front of Fate, and he defeats them all. His gluttony power activates, and he experiences an uprise in his strength level. He then confronts the biggest monster, and when the monster is about to launch its special attack, Greed tells Fate that if he receives this attack, his lungs will be damaged. Eventually, the monster attacks Fate, and he is thrown away. However, it turns out that he is only pretending to be unconscious, and then he attacks the kobold so powerfully that the huge monster dies instantly. After that, Fate experiences immense pain, and Greed tells him that it is because he just consumed the evil soul of such a huge monster. The next morning, as Roxy arrives to kill the kobold, she sees it already dead. She also sees a huge pit in the ground that was earlier created by Fate when he killed his opponent. Roxy is confused about who has killed the monster, and she talks about it to her mother. She then thinks that it must be that girl from Galia because people from Galia are even stronger than holy knights. Fate is relieved that Roxy has no idea about his strengths. Meanwhile, Aisha sees that Roxy is excited whenever she is with Fate, so she advises Fate to take care of Roxy and support her. She starts coughing and tells Fate that she doesn't have much time left. Later, Fate and Roxy leave, and Fate is still confused about how he will support Lady Roxy. He then sees that his eye is red, which indicates that he must kill some monsters. He kills many goblins, but his eye is still red, and Greed tells him that because he has defeated such a huge kobold, his eye will only be healed if he kills a monster with a higher rank, and not some random goblins. Fate sees that there aren't any stronger monsters nearby, and time is running out for him to find something to satisfy his growing hunger. Greed pushes him to make a decision. Later, Fate is shocked to hear plans for an expedition to Galia, and that Roxy has been chosen to lead this. Fate tries to stop her, worried she might not return. Despite his plea, Roxy decides to go. Fate can't change the official orders but is determined not to let the Holy Knights mistreat others. Eventually, Fate decides how to satisfy his hunger and waits for Hado to fight. Thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe to the channel.